The NHL season is rounding out, but the top 30 players in the fantasy game is something you need to know. We're breaking it down on today's show.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fantasy fanatics, welcome back inside the lab to the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. I'm joined, as always, by Mr. Steele Rodin. It's your boy, Big Flip Livingstone, here for another jam-packed episode so you can dominate your leagues year in and year out. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook. New customers right now, they put that $5 down and win $250 in bonus bets. Back at FanDuel.com to get started. Today's show, Steele, these lists that drop, especially by NHL.com, fantasy, top 200, we're honing in. We got to talk about it. Top 30 in the fantasy hockey game. We're breaking it down today, 30 through 16 tomorrow, 15 through 1, bets on tomorrow's show. A lot of players here, Steele, that I'm excited to get your take on. Are they accurately rated? Are they not? Over to you. There is the caveat here before I do that, though, with this list from NHL.com. Standard fantasy categories for the list include goals, assists, power play points, shots on goal, hits and block shots. That's all standard. They're also playing into factor, Steele, the line combos, pairings, power play usage, and even Stanley Cup playoff performances, which I think adds a caveat, but I'm excited to talk about it. Number 30 on the list. Over to you.
Who better to come in and squeak into the top 30 than Brandon Hagel of the Tampa Bay Lightning? And you're going to see a lot of similarity when it comes to the top 30. A lot of players being on the same team or in the same organization. And again, those are the gold mines those are the teams that you want to target, especially when you get to some of those deeper cut streaming options on a year-to-year basis. You want to fill those peripherals with these guys that we're going to talk about. So coming in at number 30 is Brandon Hagel of the Tampa Bay Lightning. Dual eligibility, a guy who just seems to always be invested every single night. He's an absolute gamer. I love the fact that this player wears his heart on his sleeve every single game, and he's always putting himself into the toughest battles. I mean, if you look at over the last couple of seasons, you know, the damage and the hits that he have taken specifically from the Florida Panthers, a lot of headshots, a lot of concussion protocols this season as well. And he comes back, obviously after the injuries, and he just continues. He doesn't fall off. He's so consistent in his game. 69 games played this year. It's the first season in a long time he's missed more than 2 games over the last 3 years, but he still has 35 goals, ties his career high. Could even be a career high by the end of the season. 73 points, 56 penalty minutes, a plus 33. Still has over 200 plus shots with a 17.1 shooting percentage, which is the second best of his career. So when I look at a guy like Brandon Hagel, who fills all of those things you're looking for, and funny enough, actually doesn't do well on the power play this season. Maybe it has to do with the injuries. Maybe it has to do with being on the second unit from time to time. I don't know what it is. Only 12 power play points this year from Brandon Hagel. Doesn't matter. He's still a top 50 fantasy hockey player in categorical formats, but I think this is a perfect ranking for him. Number 30 on this list. It's perfect.
And look, any excuse that I get to try and plug Sidney Crosby, I'm coming in hot. And I'm not even angry that Brandon Hagel is in at the 30th slot. But Steele, this is where I wanted to start this show, and this is where I like talking about these breakdowns because, yeah, this actually might be a nice little preview into, I know you're going to tease it, but our playoff pools as well, is these fantasy players in pieces. And look, Brandon Hagel deserves to be here in this spot. But then when I look just slightly down the list, Steele, and Sidney Crosby there at 37 and not included, even let's say, like not even for argument's sake, put him, right after Brandon Hagel, because you could split hairs on the numbers. Sidney Crosby deserves to be in the top 30, especially when you preamble this list, NHL.com. And yeah, I'm coming on here already getting heated, Steele, by saying that playoff proficiency actually is playing into your list of fantasy rankings at this time of the season. So 72 points for Sid this season and 73 for Hagel. I think that Sidney Crosby, given everything that I've come on this show, deserves to be higher on the list. However, for the sake of what you've just put out, yeah, spot on. I like the ranking. Braden Point comes in at 29. I think there's been an up and down season for this player, and we've got a lot to talk about. So you tell me which pieces you want to focus on, because I think we've covered Braden Point. Cutter Gauthier comes in at 28, and then Timmy Stutz. Over to you, who you want to talk to next. I got takes on every single player, Steele. And what I love about what we're doing on today's show is we're armed for the playoffs. We're armed for next season. You need to know these top 30 pieces. This is a key conversation in the fantasy game.
Yeah, you really do. And I love the fact that Cutter Gauthier is in the top 30. I think this is going to be maybe not next season, but then in the next 2 to 3 years, he's going to be in that Rocket Richard race. I think this is a goal scorer at heart. I think he can hit 50 goals in a season. I just think he's that good, especially with the young talent in Anaheim. Obviously, there's a lot of working and moving pieces in Anaheim, but there's just so much talent there. And he, to me, is the number one guy. I know you got Leo Carlson. I know you got Lucas Dossel. I know you got Jackson Lacombe on the back end, and I'm missing a few key guys in there. Cutter Gauthier, to me, is going to be the number one guy who's in the race for Rocket Richard over the next couple of seasons. I just think he's that good. So I love that he comes in and cracks the top 30 on this list. Tim Stützle at 27 makes a whole ton of sense for me as well. A lot of the same reason of what I just spoke about on Cutter Gauthier, but more of a playmaker, pass facilitator type of style, but he still has so much skill set, so much to be had. The guy I really want to talk about, and I'll throw it back over to you, is Tage Thompson. So maybe we can talk about him when we come back from the break in a little bit. But I did mention a few episodes ago that I would take Tage Thompson over Austin Matthews, and I'm standing by that. I think he's a wicked player. I think he brings so much to the table fantasy-wise, and I absolutely love to have him on my team.
Show love to a great year from Timmy Stutz. Kyle Connor as well. Hey, that KFC meal is out, stealing. Big boy likes himself some battered chicken, so let's get after it with that. But let's talk about Tage Thompson very quickly before we get to break. And we've got a number of intriguing pieces to talk about the rest of today's show. But my goodness me, the Buffalo Sabres are in a big reason the place that they're in. And I know there's a lot of good stories going on, and you could say, Flip, this is the obvious one. But also, isn't it obvious that your best players have to be your best players? And I know he's got no goals over the last 4 games, Steele. I hope he's saving those bullets for the postseason. But this guy is a 40-goal scorer all day long, up and down. And I think what's really intriguing, and we've covered this, is that slow start to his career and then comes on like gangbusters. You just mentioned Cutter Gauthier, fantasy value insulated by a really good young team with a number of good pieces around him. Tage Thompson the same, but even with some veteran pieces. Alex Tuch, Rasmus Dahlin's a veteran now, Steele. This team is for real around him. So you were talking about this list of the top-ranked 30 fantasy pieces. This is right now, but with such little hockey left, even if they have bad performances in the postseason, you need to know what this list is. It's going to be pretty close for those first few rounds of the draft. And I think you'll back me here very quickly before break. You can explain it after. That Tage Thompson, he is starting to really creep into, if he's around after that second round, that's a mistake.
I would move him slightly above where he's currently ranked at 25. I think I'd put him somewhere closer to the 20th ranking on the list, 20, 21, maybe 22, but I like him near that 20 number. He's just that good, and I'll tell you why when we come back after the break.
Absolutely. We're running through 24th spot that we're at next. Some goalies, some blue liners, more forwards as we run it down to 16. Tomorrow's show, 15 through 1, the top 30 fantasy players in the game according to NHL.com. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Quo Spring. It's a reset point. One thing that can be quietly costing businesses money: messy communication, missed calls, scattered texts, no clear thread of who said what. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo. Quo, the smarter way to run your business communications. Quo is the #1 rated business phone system on G2 with over 3,000 reviews, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses. It makes business feel more organized and responsive. Make this the season where no opportunity or customer slips away. Try Quo for free and get 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/lockedonnhl. That is QUO.com/lockedonnhl. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. Today's show is also brought to you by our friends at Indeed. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking, inbox overflowing, and that one position you need to fill still sitting open. The pressure's on. You need the right hire. That's a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Right now, reach the people that actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, and location. Less time searching, more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of our show get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your premium job status what it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast and tell them you heard about it on the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Helps us, helps you. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire. It's a job for Indeed sponsored jobs.
And once again, thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Pod your first listen. Hit that subscribe button, the follow button. It does so much to help us out on the channel here. Don't forget to check out the Everydayer Club as well. You get ad-free episodes and access to a group chat with Flip and I on Discord. Tap the link in the show notes or go to lockedonfantasyhockey.supercast.com. All for $5 a month or $50 a year. Make sure to keep your eyes peeled for all of the new content Flip and I are going to be putting out as well. We're going to be getting the NHL playoff bracket challenge going. We'll drop the link in Discord in the descriptions on YouTube and on Twitter as well as make sure we're going to be doing an office fantasy hockey pools challenge as well. So it's a free entry. We'll try to get some prizes out there too. Keep your eyes peeled. We'll give you all the information as soon as the playoffs are finalized and we're ready to get into the action here. Top 30 fantasy hockey players continuing. Real quick, Tage Thompson. I'm going to restate something because I said I'd take him closer to number 20. I'm going to take him closer to the 15th overall draft pick because I said that I would take him over Austin Matthews. I think that's where Austin Matthews falls in at this point. We over the past season that we just saw, Austin Matthews doesn't seem to be the guy that wants to take control of the game. He plays on the perimeter. He plays somewhat passive. He's still one of the best two-way forwards in the game, two-way centerman. But from what I've seen this year, I think he falls down the draft board, and I think rightfully so he should. So a guy like Tage Thompson, who to me is putting up 40-plus goals on a season, can have 80-plus points, puts up 264-plus shots, can get near to 300. By the way, out of the 38 goals he has this season, 32 of them even strength. So if he capitalizes more on the power play as well, which he still has 25 power play points, I think that excels his fantasy value moving forward too. Tage Thompson is one of the best players that I want on my team, and I think he deserves to be just at the very end of the first round, especially in a 16-team format.
I can't disagree with your take on the fact that Austin Matthews falls down the board. I don't know if at the end of the day, though, next season, it shakes out that these two players are going to result in much different production. However, Steele, I think I'd be in the losing argument right now because guess what? Austin Matthews isn't playing. I know that's not his fault. His team is not in the playoffs. Tage Thompson is playing very well, aside from 4 goalless games, and his team is in the playoffs. So let's revisit this one because I feel like Austin Matthews and where he goes next year is going to be one of those very hot topic button conversations headed into next year's fantasy draft. Sorokin, bounce back season. Connor Hellebuck, up and down kind of season. Those are the next 2 names on this list, 24 and 23. But I want to land at 22, Steele, if you're good. If you got takes on those 2 goalies, I think we've both covered it. Definitely with Sorokin's bounce back this year. And I know lately, again, oddly enough, not very good. Save percentage well south of 900 over his last 4 games. It lands here with me, Steele, with Evan Bouchard. And we've talked a lot about defensemen. We've talked a lot about I think also this is where we separate sometimes Evan Bouchard's lapses in judgment and what that means to the success of the Edmonton Oilers. This guy had an elite fantasy season, 91 points. I think silenced a lot of critics after 67 points the previous year. This guy's for real fantasy-wise. Clutch when you need him the most on the ice in the standings, I don't know. But fantasy-wise, this guy's reestablished himself as easily a top 5 fantasy hockey option all day. You're on mute.
At least once an episode. But what I was saying was it's pretty easy to look good out there when you've got Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl at your side, helping you, holding your hand along the way as well. Hey, I don't hate it. Look, he brings the value. You want him on your team. He's definitely a second-round draft pick, and we had him in the preseason around this area in that 20, 21, 22, along with Zach Werenski, Rasmus Dahlin as well. We had a lot of defensemen here. He brings the value. There's no questions about it. Separating those two, I completely agree with you, but I still think defensively, and again, this is just generic talk at this point, I still think he's one of the biggest liabilities on in the National Hockey League on the defensive zone. Outside of that, he still brings the value, so he definitely deserves to be ranked here. Would you have him winning the Norris Trophy this season? Like, I know over the last couple of years, the defenseman with the leading point, they end up winning the Norris Trophy, and currently he leads. I still think I go with Zach Werenski.
I think the sexier pick is Zach Werenski. I think also just given the trajectory of Zach Werenski's career, but also Steele, with all that said and the 91 points in the bag, and you look at the history of the Norris Trophy, Evan Bouchard deserves to be the betting favorite and could very much win this award. Is it sexier for us as a fantasy community to want Zach Werenski? 100%. However, this is the Fantasy Hockey Top 200 updated list, by the way, Steele, just the other day by NHL.com. Bouchard slides in at the deuce, number 22. Jack Hughes at 21. Cole Caulfield at 20. Then we can come back from the break and talk about a few other players to wrap it up. I don't know what you're feeling here. Jack Hughes at 21 feels high on the list, but then you look at the upside. You look at what he can bring to the table. Maybe it's accurate. I don't know. I wouldn't have put him this high personally. What's your take?
I wouldn't have put him this high personally as well. I understand why he's at the 20 or the 21st ranked on the top 200. He has been one of the hottest players, if not the hottest player outside of Nikita Kucherov since coming back from the Olympic break.
Good point.
He does have 72 points in 57 games, but we've read the script before. We know how this goes with this player. He can't stay healthy, and that's why he's not higher on this list. That's why he's not a top 10 draft pick. We know that he has the potential to put up 100-plus points in a season. In fact, he's on pace to do so if he hadn't been injured for about 4 to 6 weeks back in December. He's got all the skill in the world. Doesn't matter if you can't play more than 60 games in a season, and he just can't do that right now with the New Jersey Devils. He hasn't been able to do that for his NHL career. So that's the downside with Jack Hughes. I would definitely still have him in the top 30, but I think I'd have him closer to the 29-30 mark.
And absolutely agreeing with you here. And look, we're showing love to the NHL.com staff. This is Pete Jensen, Chris Meany, and Troy Perlowitz who put this list together. But if you're going to preamble your list, Steele, and I left this part out for you, is that they've also put in here projected goal support for goaltenders and also injury history or concern for these players. And if you're considering that, which, look, is a very difficult one to caveat when it comes to players in the fantasy game, Jack Hughes should not be that high then if you're considering injury history. That's a full stop. Cole Caulfield comes in at 20, Steele. I think given the season he's had, this guy deserves to be in the conversation for the best 25 players in the fantasy game when you score that many goals. So that one's comfortable. 19, 18, 17, and 16 after the break. I know Matt Boldy for me, far too high on the list, but I'm ready for your take.
Absolutely. Coming up next, And of course, we'll break down part 2, top 15 on tomorrow's episode. But first, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are here, where every possession matters, every matchup is magnified, and every game can swing a series. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a great way to get on the action. You can bet just $5 and get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. The app makes it easy to follow the action with the player stats, trends, matchups, all in one place. And during the playoffs, that extra insight really matters when you're looking at stars, role players, and key moments. It just makes the entire playoff experience more engaging from start to finish. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel, play your game. And once again, thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Continue to smash that subscribe button, the follow button. Leave a 5-star review for your boys here, Flip, Livingstone, and Steele Rodin. Flip, Cole Caulfield comes in at number 20 on the list. And like you said, after the season he's having, we're still waiting for that elusive 50 on the year. He's been so close. The fans want it. We want it. Fantasy hockey nerds want it. 86 points on the season at 25 years old. It's a career high for him. He's got a few games left in the season. 12 game-winning goals. Are you serious? Mr. Clutch over here for Montreal. Cole Caulfield, where do you have him? Do you think he's perfectly ranked, or do you have him higher on the list, a little bit lower? Where do you think?
Now that I'm realizing how many different caveats the NHL.com staff threw out with this list, it makes it a little bit hard to place when you've considered so many different angles. So I think it's pretty accurate. I would say in our format, where we really do need some PIMs and some hits, some block shots out of our elite first couple of rounds of selections, I still think he's pretty close to like a top 20, 25 player steal. This guy is unreal. And we just talked about how we like in the fantasy game being insulated by good teams. How about Lane Hudson on the power play feeding you the puck? How about Nick Suzuki? How about Juraj Slafkovsky?
Talk about
him. How about Demidov? How about all the young players they still have coming? If you want to talk about kind of investing into the right angles of where teams are trending, we've thrown out the Ducks. We like where the Mammoth are at. The Montreal Canadiens have to be at the top of that list. So I
100%.
like him right here. I think this is a very accurate spot. I look at Brady Tkachuk at 19, though, and if we were to do our categorical list, I think there would be a little bit of separation here because we love what Brady Tkachuk brings with that sandpaper, and he covers our banger league cats. So I might have Cole Caulfield a little bit lower down the list. However, Brady is on fire right now. 6 points in his last 2 games. This is a guy that I think one of the mock drafts you and I did a couple of years ago, I got Matthew and Brady Tkachuk, and I got a whole lot of love as that might be an undefeatable team. I can't disagree if they stay healthy and you get that kind of power forward love. Brady Tkachuk anyway, let's focus on him. I think this is an accurate spot here. This guy is a fantasy hockey beast.
Yeah, no, this guy deserves to be higher on the list. And I think obviously it goes to a lot of factored in was the injury at the beginning of the season. If this guy plays 82 games, to me, he's an 82-point player. He puts over 300 plus shots. He gets over 200 plus hits, close to 300 in some years. He gets it on the power play. He gets the penalty minutes. He fills out all the peripherals you want. I've been preaching this player. He's like a unicorn, especially in categorical formats. He brings so much value to the table. And outside of this season, he's been healthy throughout his entire career. And obviously it was a very unfortunate hit, I believe he took from Roman Josi, in preseason or in the first couple of weeks, if I remember correctly, is what kept him out of the lineup with that injury. If that doesn't happen, he's going to be a top 10 fantasy hockey player, and he should be. That's how I think he should be higher on this list. That's how I rate, again, those peripheral categories. And also just to keep in mind, and maybe I missed it, but Austin Matthews isn't in the top 200. Austin Matthews isn't even in the top 30 on this list, obviously because of the injury he suffered this season. But if this is a real top 30, top 200, Austin Matthews is somewhere in the top 30. He's probably in the top 15, top 17. Maybe I missed it. But, he's not on the list from what I saw.
We'll dive back into the Austin Matthews conversation. I believe on the bottom of this NHL.com list, there's key injuries here because like Leon Draisaitl,
Yeah.
Sam
Yeah.
Reinhart, there's
Okay,
other
that makes
pieces
sense.
here. And this is what it's about, though, at this time of year, Steele. You and I have covered every single angle that we're going to cover. So let's take a look at what these professionals, quote unquote, have put together because, the playoff pools are one thing, but knowing the names on this list and kind of where they're falling,
time.
at least in terms of numbers, I know it's already helping me do better. And I think we can both agree that Uncle Flip needs to do a little bit better with his fantasy hockey teams. So, Mark Scheifele, I know you want to talk about this guy. We're running out of time.
Yeah.
So 97 points in 77 games. If you're kind of just looking at that, Steele, he for sure deserves to be higher on the list. This not enough respect due to this player. 18, I think this year is spot on for him. I see Matt Boldy at 17. This is what I want to talk about. That to me is high. Over to you. Sell me on why Matt Boldy should be ahead of Caulfield, Hughes, Bouchard, Thompson. Let me hear it. Unless you disagree as well.
No, first off, Mark Scheifele having a sneaky good season, top 5 in the league for points. He could hit triple digits here. Matt Boldy, it's a little bit high. There's no question about it. Is he still a second round, early third round draft pick? 100%. 83 points on the year, just put up his first 40-goal season, and I think he can be a consistent 40-goal season. He's going to be a threat. If it's not Kaprizov, it's Matt Boldy. And I know Quinn Hughes on the back end, he's going to be pretty much on every single one of their points, if not, being or scoring the goals himself, and they're contributing to him. Matt Boldy, I think, at this point of where we are in our lives, we're really seeing, a movement of the skill set of of the young guys and their skill set that they bring into the league at such a young age. Matt Boldy's one of them, still 24 years old, right there along Kirill Kaprizov. I'm not going to try and sell him at number 18. I think it's a little bit too high for here. Maybe 24, 25. I'd be more than comfortable taking him around that time. But I think when you get obviously Austin Matthews, Leon Draisaitl back in the mix, he starts to slide down a little bit. But just looking at the guys we've already kind of talked about, I'd probably take Scheifele over Matt Boldy, to be honest. I think he's just a guy who gets overlooked a little bit. I know they're one spot away from each other, but I'd still take Scheifele over him.
I think this is exactly why we do these episodes. And you take a look at these positional spots where really good players who have had also, let's be clear, really good seasons. You need to know what's cooking. You need to know what teams are trending in the right and wrong directions. We've got the top 15 on tomorrow's episode, Steele. Jack Eichel comes in at 16. Last player on the list. Another really intriguing, I feel like this is probably one of those spots where we say we're always fired up for this year. This is a great year. Oh, the postseason's here. We're fired up. It's been a really intriguing season. And when I look at Jack Eichel and the Vegas Golden Knights, I think you throw them into that conversation, Steele. He deserves to be in the mix with all the names here in this chunk of drafting players. I believe he would have been even higher on your list headed into the season. This team's dysfunction, though, and what they have been or lack of been able to do throws a little dagger into your head and go, what's going on here in Vegas? Do you want to invest your first overall, whether that's in a deep league at 11, 12, 10, on Jack Eichel? I don't know. But here at this spot, I feel like he deserves to be right here at the 16th overall spot or so.
100%. I think this is perfect. In fact, I'm actually quite disappointed in how he's played this season, and he still has 82 points in 70 games. And we know the turmoil. We know exactly what's been going on in Vegas. A lot of noise there. We've made a lot of noise ourselves calling them frauds this year, and they really have been. And we talked about it on a lot of recent episodes about taking a step back and reanalyzing how we perceive their value of the Vegas Golden Knights. Because it just, again, and I mentioned the, not being able to have Alex Pietrangelo this season, maybe for the future as well. That has played a huge part, I believe, into the cracks in the shield here with the Golden Knights. So I still think, personally, I'm disappointed in Jack Eichel's performance this year, even still with the 82 points. I think he could be a lot better. I'm more than happy taking him at the 16, 17 spot in the draft.
245 shots on net already this season, Steele. That's pretty solid. You know what you're going to get from this player. It's just kind of weird what's going on in Vegas. And those, along with the other points I was trying to make on today's show, keep you sharp and primed. I'm telling you, you get to slacking in the macking in the offseason, Steele, before the season's even done yet, kind of thing in terms of fantasy. You'll fall behind. Look at what I've done. Foot off the pedal, boom, bap. Second last place. I'm in here trying to show love to you and everyone else out there. But back over to you.
Yes, sir.
We got another episode tomorrow. Top 15 in the fantasy game.
Top 15. We'll break down all the nitty gritty little details you need to go into the fantasy hockey playoffs. I can't wait to run through 9 through 7. 3 Dallas Stars in the top 10. That's going to be a fun conversation.
Why, Joe?
For everyone tuning in. Why, Joe? I told you he should. He's been doing it. We'll talk about it on tomorrow's episode. Thank you so much for making Locked On Fantasy Hockey your first listen every single day. Hammer that subscribe button, the follow button. It really does help us out so much on the channel. We'll see you back here again tomorrow for another hot episode.
Peace.